Because of Xiangli Yao coming soon and for free, there have been a lot of doomer musings about one Calcharo, but I specifically digested Stioorgs' video about Calcharo and the downfall of him. I highly recommend watching it since he does a great job explaining why he isn't that great right now. I'm making this video, however, to address the fixes he proposes, or I guess the lack thereof. To put it bluntly, it's like he literally negative edged and then prematurely dribbled out stringy, weak spermed fixes that are not only kinda unrealistic, but also just not thorough at all. I want to give some leeway since this is a month old, but that doesn't get rid of the fact that the solution and fix aspect of these kinds of videos are arguably the most important things. If you have a feedback and fix part of a video like this, I think it should be thought out decently well, as that's what could be seen in the future if the devs see and are receptive to the things you offer up. So that leads me to addressing what I think is wrong with Stioorgs' fixes, but also a lot of the other Calcharo doomer videos, and how I think he could be saved in a more pragmatic kind of way. Let me explain. First off, compared to showing valid issues and discussing the things that make him less than what he was in the CBTs, the solution section is very small, like my nipples, and can be summed up in 2 Choco Nibs. Allow swapped buffs to remain like in old CBT builds, and let Calcharo get stacks faster, like from perfect dodging or an extra stack on skill hits. I think these 2 points are modestly middling at best, and an inadequate wave off of wanting to provide a solution at worst. The first point just won't happen, as we all know CBTs are meant for testing things, and so the developers thought it was too much and changed it to what we have now. I do not think they'll budge on the idea of adding that back in, since if I remember correctly, I swore there was a dev interview where they mentioned it and them talking about how it was too powerful and not in line with their game vision, but mother of fucking unwashed taints, I cannot find it.
Wuthering Waves or Kuro Games said that the game wasn't intended to be like that, or it was actually intended to be like it is at launch.
I knew it.
This is a literal trust me bro moment right here, but even if you don't believe me, it was extremely strong and I can't understand where the devs came from. This topic is a whole nother thing and a separate video though. The point is that this first solution is probably the most unlikely thing to happen, and I'm not sure I'd consider it a full solution, since this was removed for a purpose based on the developer's vision and them making and knowing the inner workings of the game better. Not saying that they're always right, but I think this is gone now for good. It is what it is. His second point on the ease of getting his stacks is a good one, and it's simple. It fixes one of the main issues, and I think it could be added in as an extra part of maybe a sequence? You know how gachas are. Create a problem, sell the solution. It would be cool to see it added on his special intro, or even tacked onto his 15% damage reduction. By the way, I think people underestimate this as an idea, and I will talk about this when I give my solutions. I personally think the perfect dodge one is bad though, since if that was the case, all you would need to do is literally perfect dodge to get full stacks. Like, if this was tied to his dodge counter, which he didn't specify, I think this would be a better idea since you're making an active decision and need to retaliate. That falls more in line with what I think Kuro was trying to go for with his character demeanor. I think the ease of use is too high and too rewarding in this suggestion. But for his Revenant Rush passive skill, literally if they just add on, upon casting Mercy, if you hit an enemy, you get an additional stack of Cruelty which refreshes every X seconds. This also applies in his Liberation state. That would work. So there's a few other ways to get additional stacks just from this recommendation, and it sadly wasn't expounded upon until just now. Stioorg, I know you got some delicious seeds of knowledge to give. Let us fertilize the knowledge together. These 2 points give me the impression that Steam just ran out of the boat after talking about what his problems were for 90% of the video. And hey, if you were tired, then so be it, but I think this section deserved way more. So I'll give it the tender breeding session it deserves by giving realistic in-game ideas that could be implemented either into his kit or fixed via future characters, or both. Like, it could be interchangeable. Solution 1. Added stacks. We already talked about this, so if you have Alzheimer's, here's the timestamp for that. Solution 2. Damage reduction increase. hold it. This is post-edit vid. I did a little fucky-wucky. The next sentence after this pause is false, because Stioorg did not even mention damage reduction. I confused his video with another that I watched in between. So, hey, that's my bad, but the rest of the point still stands on the solution as a whole. So, anyway, back to it, just wanted to clear that up. In his video, he kind of undersold the value of damage reduction, and on its own, yeah, it's kind of lame since it's 15% and that won't get you too far on his specific skill, and that's where my solution comes in. A main problem he has is that he's open to being attacked with his long animations. So, why not bump up that 15% damage reduction to be at least 50% when he's in ultimate, and maybe can go even higher if you successfully pull off full stacks of forte attacks. It mitigates the main problems he was having with vulnerability while keeping DPS at the sacrifice of you deciding whether or not you want to tank things. It will also reward you for fully committing if you decide to do so with the additional stacks. I think the idea for Calcharo was to have him be a ruthless attacker in his ultimate form, kind of like how Moon Knight is. They will just tank everything and will bulldoze anyone in their way so they can hit the ever-loving ovaries out of you. I think that's why he has this seemingly random 15% damage reduction, and it seems to me they pushed out on committing fully to the idea. This would double down on that idea, and that's not even including the shields you can get now and in the future. I think this buff would be a very fitting thing for Calcharo while not needing to drastically change core mechanics of the entire game. Also, this idea can extend out to any future support characters that have a specialty in damage reduction specifically. Solution 3. Basic attack speed increase. Another problem that the cunt server himself has is that to get to his full stacks he needs to get through his long attack string. My solution? When in ultimate or after pulling off a successful forte, your basic and heavy attack speeds are increased for X seconds. I think this could be attached to either of his passives, but I think it would best fit on the ability Bloodshed Awaken, which is meant to be offensive. Either that or just have it be an inherent thing for his liberation form, since that just makes sense. With these changes and additions, you reach your stacks faster, it feels smoother to play because of the animations being done quicker, leading to not just slightly higher DPS output, but also more flexibility once you get the buff. The nice thing too is that this shifts his kit more so that the damage is spread around to his basic attacks. This means that missing or accidentally cancelling his heavy strikes aren't as punishing. Kuro, just let us fucking keep the stacks, by the way. This idea can also extend out to future characters as well who are basic attack buffers. Calcharo would definitely benefit from them. Solution 4. Dodge counter stacks. Calcharo has probably one of the coolest dodge counters, as I think it's totally unique. Oh yeah, my panties just fucking blasted off like Team Rocket from that. With this being so sick, it only looks that way, and that's like most of his kit, unfortunately. So to change it from style to substance like the other dodge counters, make it so that you can stack from dodge counters with a cooldown. This would massively help the punishing aspect of his kit, because dodging is an obvious core mechanic of the game, so having you play and be punished for dodging and having to start from string 1 of his slow ass basic attacks just shouldn't be a thing. This also visually matches with how he gets stacks too, since you get it most reliably from your skill, throwing out your phantom. He's using him here in this dodge counter too, so it's not like it's averting character vision and continuity.
You're a fucking idiot.
On a related note too, they should have his string start higher up after dodging. Most other resonators dodge and begin again at 3 or 4, so I'm confused why Calcharo is getting shafted here. Solution 5. Intro stack gains. This is the last one, and I think this should have happened from the get-go after they released his special intro, necessary means, from being sequence locked. They should have also added the utility purpose of it also getting stacks from his intro skill, as again, this is another thing which is super fucking cool to look at, but can be more of a hindrance when used. There's no time stop when you do this, and the damage is negligible as intro skills are usually the last thing to level up in most kits. If you're not going to fulfill either of these two things in damage or stopping time, at least make it easier for me to get stacks by maybe giving me an additional one after necessary means ends and I'm on the field. They can even combine any of the previous solutions I had with this one, like after the intro skill necessary means you get an attack speed buff by X% for X seconds, which can stay if swapped off, kind of like Yuan Wu's basic attack speed buff. This makes his special intro actually have more purpose, and it also makes you, the user, reconsider the priority of leveling talents if the damage or utility of it suffices. Also, it creates flexibility in Calcharo's kit, where it is again dispersing out his playstyle so you can play with him outside of his state, since he will be buffed outside of it if you activate necessary means. If they were to combine this idea with the ultimate basic attack buff 2 that I recommended, you could have a scenario where you're effectively always having this attack speed buff. But that's it, and I want to know what you think about these. I personally want to see all of these added, and I think they absolutely could do this too. I hope this shows other ways to buff things other than just damage, which I guess he didn't need in the first place anyways, but you know what I mean. But do you have any other solutions? Again, check out Stioorgs' video if you're unsure as to why Calcharo has fallen off. This video is long, so I appreciate you. Thank you for letting me take your time, and be safe out there.